Hey Wolfpack, just check and make sure the stream's up and running. Give me time, just checking. Open up my phone right now, seeing if I can keep up with the live chat. Hi, I'm Chucky. Wanna play? Hello, Wolfpack. Catastrophe here, and we're doing another tier stream ranking slash party on our channel. This time we're doing an appropriate Christmas story, which was only Christmas in the first film, the Child's Play Saga, aka the Chucky the Killer Doll franchise. Yeah, we got the entire Chucky series here. We're gonna rank them all from Child's Play 1 to the Chucky the series. And we got the good, the bad, and the Glenn and Glenda ugly. Every Chucky entry is here. We want to do another tier list streaming. I'm sorry, we were going to do a Nightmare on Elm Street, but one of my friends apparently couldn't make it. I want to do Freddy with a friend online who's been dying to do a video project with us, so Elm Street is a bit on the hiatus right now. Yo, hey, Sailor Outlaw George. Yeah, I keep forgetting that the Child's Play takes place on Christmas. Yeah, the first movie does. The others, not so much. I'm pretty sure Bride takes place on Valentine's Day. And I know Cult of Chucky takes place around winter because there's snow everywhere. But yeah, Child's Play 1 is a Christmas movie. And unfortunately, I couldn't find a Christmas horror ranking tier list, and the ones I have not seen all of. I have not seen Silent Night, Deadly Night at all. So we're gonna do another franchise people have been requesting of me. So, if you're new here, we'll get this out of the way. This is how a ranking works. We're going to put all the Child's Play stories from movie 1 to the series on this ranking list from best to worst. S is the top tier. It is great. It is the perfect 10 out of 10. It's the Platinum Skull. It is a horror classic. A is good, not great. This one was definitely a good title, had its fun, but there are some criticisms here and there. But I will agree it is a pretty awesome movie as a whole. B is okay. It is a decent entry. It is one that serves its fun. It is a serviceable, adequate movie. Nothing top tier, but definitely dumb fun. C is average. This is okay, it's mid, it's mediocre. It had a lot of good, but also an equal amount of bad. It didn't quite make it highly because a lot of the bad moments cancel it out, but there was some decent moments to make it at least watchable. D is a dud. It is a weak story. It is kind of almost low tier, but it did have some speck of hope there and could have been stronger. It definitely needs improvement. And E is bad. It is a lame duck. It is forgettable, not worth your time, almost the most awful thing I've ever seen, but no, just plain bad. And F is failure. Total dog crap. It is the worst entry in this saga, and we are probably going to see a fair share of movies down here if you know how bad and infamous the Chucky series really is. But yeah, as you can see, we have the Chucky Saga here. For those of you who don't know, Chucky the Killer Doll is a horror icon. Basically, it's about this serial killer named Charles Lee Ray, played by the great Brad Dourif. He's a psycho killer who's on the lam, but he gets shot and gunned down, and as he's dying, he uses voodoo to pass his soul on into a doll to carry on his life force. And through the doll he lives on, but ultimately Chucky wants to become human again and resume living a normal life because he finds out, hey, being a doll sucks, and he wants to become a normal killer again, and through the doll he's sort of living on as this abomination. However, as the doll, it allows him to go around killing people because no one's ever gonna believe a doll is alive and talking and magic and stuff. Chucky is just as popular as Freddy Krueger because he's the second horror icon that's a one-liner machine. He is a funny dark villain. Chucky makes sassy one-liners, snappy comebacks, cracks jokes here and there. Brad Dourif plays Chucky as kind of more of this blue-collar, lowbrow kind of guy. He's not a suave, sophisticated killer. Chucky is basically a thug, but trapped in this cute little Cabbage Patch doll body, which makes him so entertaining. Brad Dourif is just iconic when it comes to playing villains, especially with Chucky. Aw, Shadowlink, you don't like Grimer Wormtongue? Yeah, Chucky put Brad Dourif on the map for sure. He is up there next to Robert Englund's Freddy, and he was very hard to top that. Not even the great Mark Hamill could outdo Brad Dourif. Sorry, I got my 500 waters here, so you could expect awkward pauses and bathroom breaks. But hey, I want to stay hydrated because we have quite a few films here. Yeah, so I got, before we start, I do have something to confess. I am not a huge Chucky fan. Don't fuck with the Chuck. Okay, don't worry. I don't hate this franchise. It definitely has fun, but I do not consider it one of my all-time favorite horror franchises, despite it having a very vocal fan base, and Chucky, I definitely agree Chucky is a cool character. However, the film series has never been my forte. I love only a handful of this saga. The rest I find mediocre to total garbage, and all the Chucky fans probably know what the total garbage is gonna be. But yeah, Chucky has definitely gone through the ringer as a horror icon. He has some dedicated fans who do defend the sequels. The first movie's a classic, and everything beyond you either love or hate. Or it's pretty divisive. Child's Play 2 was divisive. There are huge fans of this saying it's the best sequel. Some think it's okay, and some think it's where the franchise went downhill. Child's Play 3, which was weird. Seed of Chucky, which we have some words on that one. And of course, the last movie was the infamous remake with Mark Hamill, which was pretty much just a prototype for Megan. Well, we'll get to that. And Don Mancini is the creator of Chucky. He's had pretty strong creative control over this, so unfortunately it is not a case where the producers or execs meddled with him. It is mostly Don Mancini's vision, except for the remake, and I do think Mancini really lost his mind as the franchise went along, because Chucky started from a serious horror story to a self-parody, and Chucky the series, boy, I got some words on that too, but yeah, alright, so let's start this franchise, since I know everyone wants to talk about how great Chucky is. So appropriately, we're going in chronological order with the first one, Child's Play, which I think everyone agrees, S rank. I love the first Child's Play. It is why I wanted to do this tier list. The first movie is a classic. It is the best Chucky movie because Chucky is scary in this movie. Child's Play 1 is basically Chucky's origin, however, it is a very disturbing horror story. It's one of the earliest killer doll stories, very clearly inspired by the Twilight Zone's Talkie Tina killer doll, where basically we see Brad Dourif as Charles Lee Ray, normal human serial killer. He gets gunned down. He uses voodoo to pass his soul on through the doll. This doll is later picked up by a vagrant who's like peddling crap to people on the streets for cheaper prices. And we meet the main character, Andy, the little boy who is best friends with Chucky, and his mom, played by the Seventh Heaven chick. Basically, in the first movie, they buy the doll not knowing it's haunted, and the first movie is so good because Chucky is quite creepy in this movie. For the longest time, we don't know that the killer doll is actually alive, or it's sort of tricked into thinking that the doll is kind of a conduit. It's carrying Chucky's soul, but he's going to possess the little boy who adopts him. And basically, Chucky is like slowly possessing Andy. We're led to think that Andy might be the killer because Brad Dourif might be controlling him from the inside, Pet Sematary style. First one is definitely great. There are a lot of good scares, build-ups, and many memorable characters. Yeah, the detective, played by Prince Humperdinck from The Princess Bride. This one is definitely good. It actually is very scary. Chucky is more so subtle in this until the halfway point where Brad Dourif reveals himself. We're led to think that Andy might be the killer, that the Chucky doll is possessing him or influencing or something, but we slowly get the hints that the doll is indeed alive. Chucky is not on screen at first. He's mostly obscured. We follow like the Jaws effect, where we see the doll moving around, we see him in the background, we catch glimpses of Chucky in action, but nothing big until the halfway point. Like, after some people die, Andy's taken to a psychiatric facility because Chucky kind of throws him under the bus and pretends he's crazy. However, the mom threatens to destroy the doll, believing her son. She threatens to throw him in the fireplace, and Brad Dourif snaps back into action and reveals himself. It is a very scary build-up scene because you're kind of questioning if the doll is even alive because Chucky's still fooling everyone. However, the scariest moment is she, is checking out the box and the batteries drop out, yet the doll has been operating this entire time for a month now. And she slowly sees that, yep, Chucky is actually magical and alive, and Brad Dourif finally brings his voice out, revealing himself, and he goes nuts and attacks her and escapes. Chucky is basically getting revenge on all the people who are in his way or got him killed in the first place. He kills his ex-partner, he tries to kill the officer, he goes after his voodoo master to ask him how he can escape this stupid doll body, and he kills some random civilians who are in his way or preventing his murder spree or getting too close to realizing the truth of who he is. Chucky is pretty awesome in this movie. A lot of people were a bit hesitant to call this a horror classic at first. It is one of those horror movies that got popular as time went on. It was not well regarded in its day, but it grew and grew as a huge cult classic until it became a total horror masterpiece in our eyes, and Chucky became iconic, mostly thanks to Brad Dourif's great performance, because he is pretty terrifying in this. Chucky is very scary. He does have some one-liners in this, he knocks Andy out with the baseball bat, saying, "Batter up!" He insults an old lady who calls him an ugly doll. Pretty funny stuff. And we meet Andy. Andy is actually a realistic kid character in a horror movie because he starts out so innocent, and I think what makes this movie a lot more profound than the later ones is that it's sort of the death of his childhood innocence. Andy and his mom are very sweet, likable characters, and having this doll possessed by a psychotic serial killer sort of puts them through the ringer, destroys that childhood innocence, and kind of toughens them up because they have to eventually fight Chucky and defeat him. And I kind of really like that. Andy kind of grows up and hardens and realizes Chucky's not his friend and is manipulating him. And we get the badass fight scene where Chucky, breaks into the asylum somehow because I guess they don't have security that can stop a killer doll. He attacks Andy and kills the psychiatrist by electrocuting him to death. Andy makes a break for it, runs back home to find his mom, but Chucky ambushes him. They have a badass fight scene. Chucky's thrown into the fireplace, and Andy finally stands up for himself and burns him. "Andy, no, we're friends till the end, remember? This is the end, friend." And he burns him alive. And Chucky is still not dying from this because the doll body is slowly becoming his real body, and he turns into the Chucky Terminator, comes after him with a knife replacing his hand. They fight. Chucky's losing limbs. They're shooting parts of him off. The mom and the cop love interest finally come in and face him, realizing that Chucky is indeed magic. And Chucky dies a pretty slow Rasputin death in this. He's very hard to kill. He keeps coming back. Even getting his head blown off doesn't break him. Eventually they realize they have to shoot him in the heart, and they finally finish Chucky, ending the series for good. And it ends with a creepy shot of Andy closing the door on his childhood, basically. So yeah, horror classic. Child's Play 1 is epic. It is S rank. I do consider it one of the best Chucky movies, if not one of the greatest horror movies ever made, and I do not think it has been topped. I know a lot of people like the sequels and defend that some of them are better, but I think Child's Play 1 is definitely the strongest one in the bunch, and I still consider it the classic. It is a great movie. It is what put Chucky on the map, and it is the one that had the most thought and effort put into it before the sequels kind of flew off the rails. So yeah, Child's Play 1, S rank. Don't worry, Chucky fans, it is still great. And even as somebody who's not a hardcore Child's Play fan, I do consider it a great movie. Oh boy. Now time for the first sequel, Child's Play 2. So I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people because some love Child's Play 2 and consider it the greatest sequel, even exceeding the first movie for some. However, I don't think it's all that great, and I will put it in C tier. Yeah, this is the middling one. I think it's very mediocre, and it is not at all a great sequel. I know a lot of people are probably gonna hate me for this, but I do think Child's Play 2 is where the franchise started its downward spiral rather instantly. This is the one that kind of felt like it was rehashing a lot of the first movie, but also inserted a lot of what ruined this franchise. We meet a lot of asshole characters, it is mean-spirited, very depressing and cruel at times, and we get lots of lamer jump scares. There is absolutely no point in hiding and building up Chucky because we already know he's alive by this point, but they kind of repeat that all over again in the sequel. Oh, and starting the trend of a lot of bad retconning, abruptly cutting off, like, events that happen, like, going against all the good points that happened in the first movie. Like, Andy's mom is taken to the nut house, and apparently the two police officers which saw Chucky alive do not back her up and just write it completely off. Andy's sent to a foster home because his mom's not fit to take care of him, which is complete bullcrap. And basically we follow Andy put into this foster home, and the foster family are all kind of mean-spirited and nasty. That we meet the jerk dad who's completely distant for some reason. We meet the passive mom who doesn't do anything, and we meet Kyle, who's his foster sister. Kyle's considered a fan favorite final girl, but truth be told, I do not like her very much, and I do not get what people see in Kyle. She's honestly not the best character in this franchise, and I did not feel anything when they removed her up until the series. Basically, Chucky comes back to life because the toy company which made the good guy dolls basically takes his carcass and rebuilds him because they want to prove that the doll did not go haywire and kill people or something, and prove it's just a normal doll, but surprise, this resurrects Chucky, and Chucky gets, like, a lot more weirder superpowers and some contrived magical BS writing in this movie. Like, he gets apparently a do-over to transfer his soul into Andy again, even though it's been long enough that the transfer won't do anything. Oh yeah, Chucky gets to transfer his soul into the first person he met, which would allow him to become human again, and he wants to basically become Andy. Andy is the main character for at least 4 to 5 of these stories, and the original trilogy basically follows Andy all the way until we get new cast members. Yeah, Chucky basically manages to hack the toy company's, email messages and finds out where Andy's new address is somehow, and he moves over there. And Chucky kills the new good guy doll and takes his place to infiltrate the foster home. It is one of the dumbest scenes I have ever seen. Like, Chucky kills Tommy, the real good guy doll that the foster parents had. He kills the other doll doppelganger and buries his corpse in the backyard so Chucky can successfully identity theft him and get closer to Andy. And it is so dumb. I consider Child's Play 2 one of the better sequels, but I definitely understand your points, and I don't think it's perfect as people say. There's worse ones later on than this one, of course. Yeah, there are. Child's Play 2, it gets basically a get out of jail free card because the sequels got so much worse and we got a lot more terrible titles, as you'll see. But 2 is considered the good one because by association it's the one that tried the most. Now, I will admit, there are good scenes, which is why it makes it onto C tier for me. There are an equal amount of bad scenes, but there are some good moments in here. Chucky is a lot funnier in this movie. He gets a lot more spotlight. We actually enjoy him killing people. This is the whole point of the asshole characters, because we're kind of rooting for Chucky to kill them now. He kills like this bitch teacher. He kills like this corrupt CEO. He kills the douchey foster dad who doesn't believe Andy about the doll and thinks he's crazy and reveals himself to show that the dad was wrong before rubbing the irony in and killing him with an iron to the face. Hi, Kat. Hi, Akira. Glad to see you. Don't worry, we're not very far. We're on Child's Play 2. The first one is S rank. The second one I'm putting on C rank. This one I just do not get into because I think it's very mean. I think it's cruel. I think it's unpleasant. It rehashes a lot of the first movie. Nobody believes Andy that the killer doll is a killer doll that's alive and hurting people. We're basically in like this more bleak world where Andy's trying to get over losing his mom. I don't think Kyle is all that great a character. She's slowly growing attached to Andy and becoming his cool big sis because Kyle's a total troublemaking rebel and all she does is like break out at night to hang out with friends and she smokes and is rebellious. But didn't really get all that attached to her. I don't get what the fandom really sees in her, but apparently she's like the cool final girl. She befriends Andy. Chucky's slowly working his way towards killing Andy, but we get a lot of contrivances interrupting him. Like, for some reason, Chucky can't just transfer his soul into him the instant he's alone with Andy. He has to come up with these elaborate plans. Character AI removed DC chats like no Catwoman chats or Daphne Blake. Oh, that sucks. Personally, I kind of rooted for Chucky for some of the kills, especially the teacher, which was my favorite kill of the movie. Oh yeah, he beats the teacher to death with a ruler, which, yeah, I don't think a yardstick is strong enough to kill someone, but yeah, it's pretty funny, and there's a lot more like, oh, it's satisfying kills in this. Chucky's basically killing a lot of jerks who deserve it, like this teacher who hates Andy, the douchey parents, the terrible social worker who thinks Andy's crazy, stabs her, and of course Chucky rubs the irony in it that he really was a living killer doll. So Chucky eventually kills everyone but Andy and Kyle, and he chases them all the way back to the toy factory, which was apparently nearby this whole time. They have this big epic fight scene, and this, I will admit, won the movie points. I do love the showdown in the factory. A lot of fans point out that it's the greatest part of the movie. It's the best climax. It's why people love Child's Play 2, because Chucky fights them in the toy factory, and there's a lot of, like, death-defying stunts here. They fall into, like, the factory, Attack of the Clones style, try to escape Chucky. Chucky's getting, like, mutilated, getting limbs broken off. He shoves, like, a knife blade through his arm to still stalk him. He's taking quite a beating in this. And I do agree, there's a lot of cool scenes in the toy factory. Chucky kills, like, a security guard by pushing him down, like, one of the ramps, and he gets, like, his eyes gouged out with, like, doll eyes, which is pretty silly, but pretty cool. Chucky is, like, completely losing it at this point because now he finally ran out of time, all the years he had to transfer his soul into Andy, and now he's just settling on killing Andy and Kyle. They have a big epic fight, they torment him, throw him in an incinerator, he's, like, mutilated and spliced with other doll parts. However, we get, like, the most ridiculous final death. Chucky finally fights him, he's, like, covered in burning wax, and they shove an air hose into his mouth, which makes his head balloon up until he pops. And yeah, that kind of looks ridiculous. It is pretty much, I think, the goofiest Chucky death in the entire franchise. They blow him up by shoving air into him until he balloons and explodes. Like, it is so silly. Yeah, that's how Chucky finally dies, and Andy and Kyle get a happily ever after where they walk into the sunset, but I don't know where they're going to go because their foster parents are dead, and surprise, Andy doesn't even come back until the series, so she abandoned Andy, and Andy gets sent to military school, ruining any happy ending in this movie too. This also indulges a lot in one of my most hated horror cliches where though nobody believes the hero, like the adults are useless or jerks and they don't believe Andy that a magic doll is after him and are distrustful, and I am so sick of that stupid cliche, and this movie overdoses on it, which is why it falls very low for me. I don't think Child's Play 2 is great, but I do understand there is a fan base, there is a certain appeal, and there are points in its favor. It does have good in it, which I will confess, but I don't think it's a horror classic. This is agreed to be the best of the Child's Play sequels. I just don't see it. This is where I finally kind of realized that the Child's Play saga was not really my thing, but there are some good elements to it, and it just definitely has fun with Chucky. I think that's what kept this franchise afloat. They have fun with the Chucky the Killer Doll character, and the showdown in the Toy Factory definitely shows that off. So I'm putting Child's Play 2 as a C-tier sequel. Also, Chucky inspires Springtrap line. Also, I don't see Chucky fight Springtrap since Chucky have an army and Springtrap. Yeah, the army of Chucky's was cool until they abruptly killed them off in the next season. Alright, so let's move out, soldiers, with Child's Play 3. Oh man, where to put this one? This was the one where fans kind of agreed that the franchise really lost its luster, and Chucky became a lot more comedic in this movie. This is the one where Andy's sent to military school, and basically we have half a Chucky the Killer Doll horror story, but also half a military school rom-com. And yeah, fans are a lot more split on this one than the second one. Mostly because I think Don Mancini really lost sight of his vision and what made Chucky so cool. Basically, Andy's now grown up into a teenager, and since no foster home will take him, he's transferred to military school, where Chucky gets rebuilt again by the same toy factory that want to prove this doll isn't defective by repatching him and reprogramming him, but surprise, Chucky's still in there, where he kills the new CEO and runs off to military school to stalk Andy and get revenge again. Here's where it starts to lose me. I may have the second as a free pass, but I'm not a huge fan of 3. Yeah, I think 3 I might put in the E slot. It is definitely not fully a failure, but it is pretty much a very weak low point for the series. The movie wastes so much time on Andy and his military school hijinks. Like, I'm sorry, but it does. It's basically Andy's with a bunch of wacky one-note 80s characters at this military school, and it kind of feels more like a discount Stripes or Police Academy. Like, Andy's getting into wacky hijinks at the military school, while Chucky gets sort of the B plot where he's breaking into the military school and trying to kill Andy and transfer his soul into this new kid who takes him, like this young cadet who's friends with Andy, basically swipes the good guy doll, and Chucky uses this to his advantage by befriending the new kid. I think his name was Tyler. I don't remember most of the characters in this, but Andy and Chucky. Also, the name Andy feels like a Toy Story. Yeah, a lot of fans made that comparison, that Chucky would belong in Toy Story, and Andy, Woody's owner, is kind of like him. Yeah, basically, it's kind of the same BS, except a lot more played for laughs. We get a lot more dumber characters in this. We do have some jerk characters, but a lot more idiots. Like, one of the weirdest scenes is where Chucky kills, like, the principal, the commandant, by jumping him in his room, but because the guy is old, he has a heart attack and dies from the sight of a killer doll, and Chucky is, like, kind of confused by this, like, oh, you've gotta be kidding me. Like, the old guy dies of a heart attack and falls to his death. And yeah, we get a lot more dark comedy in this movie, and it varies from person to person. I do not find it all that funny. Some jokes do land, like Chucky's one-liners are okay, but then we get some awkward stinkers that are just cringy. Like, Chucky, like, we get the infamous scene where Chucky, like, sabotages the paintball training by switching out the paint rounds for live rounds, which, if you watch any other reviewer of this movie, you can't actually do that, because the guns have a specific design to not use the same ammunition. Also, Tyler's actor is Jeremy Silver's voice, Tommy in Saved by the Bell. Oh, really? I did not know that. So yeah, basically, a lot of military hijinks. Like, there's the idiot bully, there's the loser nerd, there's the hot girl who likes Andy, there's the sassy black one, there's this weird barber who gets, like, this weird arousal shaving people bald. Like, he was weird, and I think he's played by Garrick from Star Trek. There's the old uptight principal, and yeah, you get the idea. Basically, all a bunch of one-note 80s stereotypes of the military school. Again, it feels more like Stripes or Police Academy, and it really clashes with the tone. Chucky's a lot more comedic in this movie. There's one kill where he's, like, trapped in the dumpster and he tricks the garbage man into saving him, only to betray him and throws the garbage man in the crusher, which kills him, and somehow the military school write it off as an accident or something. Hi, Kat, I'm here. Hey, cool show, you made it. We're ending the original trilogy with Child's Play 3, which is an E-tier movie. I think it's the weakest. Chucky interacts with Andy a few times, but not enough. It's weird because Andy is Chucky's archenemy at this point, and I think they have the least amount of interactions in this movie up until the climax. Basically, Chucky sabotages the paintball training, which is apparently taking close place to civilian territory, because there's a carnival nearby. Which, yeah, again, this military looks very stupid, and Don Mancini took a lot of creative liberties for his stupid premise. I'm playing VR. Oh, that's weird. I didn't know you could play that and listen to streams at the same time. Yeah, Chucky, the idiot bully dies because he's killed by the live ammunition, but not before Chucky flips him off, because it's a funny movie. Chucky basically takes Tyler hostage and for some reason run to the carnival because, you know, going to a place where there are a lot of witnesses won't backfire. Andy and his girlfriend, who I can't even remember, follow him. They have a fight in the carnival ride. Chucky gets his infamous sliced face in this movie, where apparently a real roller coaster attraction with a Grim Reaper scythe, like, flies down and cuts Chucky's face off. This is where he gets those stupid stitches later and why Chucky's face looks weird in the rest of the series. It is a pretty cool scene. They have a fight, and now Chucky's transferring his soul into the little boy, Tyler. But Andy is now stopping him. He's shooting him dead, and Chucky falls into, apparently, a giant wind fan, which slices him to pieces, killing him for good, until the next movie where he's brought back somehow. Quest browser open. Okay. Also, Colonel Cochran was played by Dakin Matthews, who played King Williams in Swan Princess, First Judge on Nuts and Ernie, and Mr. Box Office. Okay, good to know. Yeah, Chucky falls into a wind fan and gets sliced up, but don't worry, he'll be back somehow. And Andy saves the day, only to be arrested for some reason and sent to prison because we need another dark ending. And that's Child's Play 3. It is pretty bad. It is bad. There are apparently some fans who do like it, which really shocks me because I think this was the worst in the original trilogy. Not the worst overall, but definitely garbage. Like, this one was a mess. It's all over the place, it's very tonally confused, and it is no surprise Don Mancini turned this into a self-aware dark comedy for the rest of the franchise because he really lost touch with his horror roots in this one. I think it is a bad movie, and Child's Play 3 is what many consider the real downward spiral for the franchise. And I can see why. It is E, low tier, not good. I do not recommend it, and I would suggest you just stick with movie 1 and 2 if you want the good Chucky horror stories. Alright, so let's move on to a good movie with Bride of Chucky. Sorry, I needed some water. Bride of Chucky, I love this movie. I actually consider it the other best movie in the franchise. And Bride, we are moving to S rank. Yeah, that's right. Bride of Chucky is good. It is the last great Chucky movie, in my opinion. So, if you're new here, spoilers, I am not a huge fan of Child's Play slash Chucky, and I consider his franchise to be a bit overrated, and I do not see what most fans see. However, there are two films I absolutely love, Child's Play 1 and Bride of Chucky. I consider these two the greatest of Chucky's franchise and what really solidifies him as a horror icon. Bride of Chucky is basically a dark comedy. It is a self-parody of the franchise and where Chucky really got to cut loose. And we introduce the fan-favorite co-star Tiffany, Chucky's evil psychotic girlfriend. Tiffany is basically like a Black Widow satanic witch serial killer herself, and she was Chucky's ex-girlfriend. They had a thing. They were a serial killer outlaw couple together. However, after Chucky's death in 3, his corpse gets rebuilt and delivered to her, where Chucky springs into action and he wants Tiffany's help to help him become human again. And Tiffany, we learn a lot more about. Tiffany is the Harley Quinn to Chucky's Joker, played by Jennifer Tilly, who absolutely owns this role as this cute and psycho, twisted witch killer girlfriend. Bride of Chucky is pretty divisive, but honestly, I love this one. The comedy actually works, and Jennifer Tilly, who plays Tiffany, was a great addition. Yeah, we meet Tiffany, the Bride of Chucky. Spoilers, Chucky kills Tiffany and transfers her soul into like her Barbie doll body or something, and she becomes a killer doll girlfriend with him, and Chucky basically coerces her into being his partner in crime again. So if she wants to become a human, she now has to help him, and they have to like steal this magic amulet, which apparently Charles Lee Ray had on him, which he never used for the trilogy. Yeah, Tiffany is great. She is great. She is the Harley Quinn to Chucky's Joker. Jennifer Tilly is really hot in this movie. She is so sexy. She is very flirtatious and playful and adorable, but also a total psychopath. Again, very Harley Quinn-esque. She's bubbly. She likes having fun. She is kind of a dimwit, but she also enjoys killing people, and slowly she and Chucky fall in love all over again while they're killing on this movie. So basically, Tiffany is friends with this poor neighbor of hers who also lives in her trailer park. The poor neighbor is like dating this rich girl who her I think uncle or daddy either like doesn't hate him because he thinks he's a lowlife not worth her. He and this rich girl have like this secret affair. He's apparently is friends with Tiffany because he doesn't know she's a killer. Basically, Tiffany tricks him into delivering the dolls as like a package to a friend across town, which is where Charles Lee Ray's corpse is buried. They need him for basically a ride, and he does so because he's friends with Tiffany when she was alive, and he basically invites his girlfriend because he wants to take their relationship to the next level and marry her, where the guy and the girl are unknowingly carrying two killer dolls with them on a road trip across town, where apparently Chucky and Tiffany can't help themselves, and they kill people along the way. I can't say much about the franchise because I don't have much to say. Pretty much the only thing I didn't like were the main hero characters. They're pretty unlikable for the most part. Oh, really? You didn't like the couple? Okay. Jennifer Tilly voiced Celia May in Monsters Inc., Petunia in a SpongeBob episode The Flower Pot, Little Red Riding Hood on J.J. Collard's Fairy Tales, The Sorceress and Randy Cunningham, Ninth Grade Ninja, also Grace and Home on the Range. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly is pretty much one of the greatest highlights in even bad movies. So, Tiffany and Chucky are pretty much the stars of this movie. They are pretty much the main focus. The guy and the girl, they're kind of bland, and what people don't like about them is essentially they kind of turn on each other when Chucky and Tiffany are murdering people on their road trip, basically. They start to suspect that the other is a killer. Like, it makes the news that all these killings are happening, and they think that the other is really a psychotic serial killer who is murdering other people on this road trip, but they're afraid to confront them over it despite suspecting them. And they have no clue that it's really the dolls they're carrying that are psychopaths doing all of this. It's played for dark comedy, but I can see why that might make them a bit unlikable. Truthfully, it is completely saved by Brad Dourif and Jennifer Tilly as Chucky and Tiffany. They are great. I wish she played Harley Quinn if Tara Strong retired. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly would probably be an awesome Harley Quinn. I mean, she kind of is in this movie. Basically, Chucky is killing people and Tiffany is sort of getting reattached to him. She's also a serial killer, and they have like this dark romance going on where the killing is getting her turned on. She's falling in love with Charlie, or Charles Lee Ray all over again. She becomes the bride of Chucky. Chucky finally proposes to her and realizes that he loves her. However, while this is happening, they kind of go from loving each other to hating each other to back to loving each other, and like this twisted Joker and Harley Quinn back and forth, this mad love sort of. Like, Chucky is like kind of a dick to her for most of the movie, yet he does show a softer side in liking her because he gets turned on by her being a killer doll too. Oh yeah, how could I forget the most iconic scene, the doll sex they have? Yeah, Don Mancini has a love-making doll sex scene between Tiffany and Chucky while they're like bathing in blood. And they actually made naughty bits for these dolls. So much better than Margot Robbie. Yeah, Margot Robbie is pretty bad as Harley Quinn. I think she's overrated. Jennifer Tilly, though, she is an awesome Harley Quinn stand-in. I love Chucky. Chucky takes, like, this dead couple they kill as, like, wedding ring and gives it to her, and they fall in love, and kind of become, like, this Bonnie and Clyde outlaw couple using the couple escorting them. There's kind of a lot of cool kills in this. They kill, like, this sleazy couple who robs the main characters by, like, chucking like an alcohol bottle at the glass mirror ceiling, and all the shards come down and slice them to pieces. They like electrocute a guy. They make like this makeshift needle gun out of like the airbag in the car and blow it into a guy's face. Like, he like gets a lot of like a pinhead face kind of and dies from that. They keep the douchey uncle's corpse in like the trunk. And they blow up, like, a detective who's, like, stalking them and onto them. Like, they killed a detective following the couple who suspects that they're the killers and blow him up before flipping him off. Get a lot of funny zingers in this, too. Like, a stoner guy sees Chucky walking around and Chucky just flips him off. Rude fucking doll. And there's so many great scenes. It is hilarious. Chucky is pretty much at his funniest in this movie. He is so great. Bye, I have to get ready for grocery shopping for a nativity cake. Okay, see ya, Kira. I also love Chucky's self-aware quote that pretty much sums up every slasher villain killer in a series. I'll come back. I always come back. But dying is such a bitch. Yeah, this is a very self-aware, tongue-in-cheek parody movie. Like, they are aware of all the horror tropes and have such a blast with it. Chucky is at his funniest in this movie. I do agree that Chucky is right up there next to Freddy as the funniest one-liner slash and killer, and Bride of Chucky pretty much cemented that. Tiffany's like, we gotta get across town. It's like, oh yeah, you could drive the wheel while I'll be on the pedals and push. We're dolls, you idiots. Yeah, something of that sort. Chucky is very hilarious, and they do point out that he and Tiffany have a very dysfunctional romance, because Chucky's still kind of a dick at the end of the day, and he's kind of snarking when Tiffany's trying to have romantic moments. Chucky's being a kind of a low-browed prick. like the couple eventually get married at like a roadside wedding, like a chapel in Vegas or something. They get hitched, and Tiffany thinks it's so cute because she actually was friends with the neighbor boy. Says, isn't it romantic? And Chucky's like, I give it a week. What? Till she gets fat. It won't last. Love Chucky in this movie. Brad Dourif was having so much fun. So eventually the couple finally catch on when they're the dolls, because one of the friends of the neighbor boy apparently meets up with them and is trying to help them until they find like the dead uncle shoved in the trunk, and the dolls eventually reveal themselves when this is going wayside, and the gay best friend apparently dies this over-the-top death where a truck rams him down and he splatters into nothing but blood. I didn't know trucks were that strong, but okay. Oh, hey, Light Jones, glad to see ya. We're on Bride of Chucky, which I consider an S rank. The dolls take the couple hostage, they hijack an RV, and Chucky's still a dick because he criticizes Tiffany for not washing the dishes or something. Yeah, Chucky's also kind of a politically incorrect dick, as they would heighten up in the later half of these movies, but it's pretty funny. The killer doll couple have a fight because they're really dysfunctional. The RV crashes and they flip out. Chucky takes the girlfriend hostage, but the neighbor boy finds Tiffany and takes her hostage. They try to have this hostage exchange, their girl for their girl, basically. Agreed. Yeah, in case you're new here, Bride of Chucky and Child's Play 1 are both S rank, Child's Play 2, which is C rank, I'm not a fan of this movie, and Child's Play 3 is our first E rank. It is definitely weak, but the sequels will get so much worse. They have their hostage exchange. We find out they finally made it to Charles Lee Ray's grave. He needs them to dig up his corpse, and he has his magic amulet, which was never referenced once in this trilogy. However, they have a final fight scene, and it ends with both Chucky and Tiffany dying, basically. Chucky dies, but says he'll be back because, of course he will. Even he knows he's immortal. Chucky eventually gets shot and falls in his own grave, irony. Tiffany supposedly dies getting injured, and the couple are finally rescued by the police. They clear their names and prove, oh, it was actually these magic killer dolls, and they finally walk off in the sunset, getting their happy ending, until we get our twist ending. So, the detective basically tries to recover Tiffany's corpse and see if she's still alive. However, we find out Tiffany was pregnant with Chucky's child, Glenn and Glenda, who, believe me, we'll get to. The child comes out and basically kills the officer, ending the movie. And that was Bride of Chucky. I consider it actually a pretty good one. It is so off the walls funny, and I really love the direction this one goes in. It is easily the best of the comedic Chucky movies. Tiffany and Chucky have such a great chemistry in this movie. The kills are over the top. It's got such a rockin' attitude and a lot of great comedy. Bride of Chucky, I do consider one of the greatest movies in this franchise, and it is up there next to the original Recipe. I personally say that Tiffany stabbing Chucky in the back absolutely would have been very good character development on Tiffany, because she basically indicates that love does triumph over evil, like what her mother told her. Yeah, if only Tiffany finally broke their toxic relationship. But yeah, Bride of Chucky, S rank, it is good. Unfortunately, I can't say the same about the follow up, Seed of Chucky, the one about Chucky's weird child, Glenn slash Glenda. Oh boy, Seed of Chucky, I'm gonna say it, it is F. It is awful. It was such a bad movie that it was the one that nearly killed this franchise. Seed of Chucky goes more with the horror comedy route, but in the worst ways possible. This is where Chucky and Tiffany start a family. Basically, their child, Glenn and Glenda, is born and apparently was taken in by a freak show run by Alice Cooper. And the Chucky's son, I say son, but as you can see, even Don Mancini didn't know if he wanted a boy or a girl. I'm surprised they made any more after Seed of Chucky. Yeah, me too. This was the one that almost killed the franchise. Seed of Chucky is garbage. The worst in the series by far. Yeah, preaching to the choir, Shadowlink. I agree. This one is awful. It is bad. For some reason, some of my friends actually like this movie. I can definitely see it as so bad it's good, but as an unironically good movie, hell no. It is bad. Basically, Glenn and Glenda escapes from Alice Cooper's freak show to go find their parents. And they find out Chucky and Tiffany's bodies were apparently taken in by Hollywood directors making new Chucky movies with the real living dolls' bodies. Like, I don't know how, but Chucky and Tiffany apparently aren't conscious in their doll bodies at this point. And Glenn and Glenda break Glenn slash Glenda. I don't know what the fuck to call them. I hate Glenn and Glenda. They are the worst. The Chucky's child basically finds them and snaps them back to life and wants to start a loving family, realizing that they're not alone in this world. However, you know, Chucky and Tiffany are evil, and basically they form a dysfunctional family. Chucky wants to go back to their serial killing ways and have their son become a part of their killer family. However, Tiffany is a bit more reluctant. She has a sympathetic side now. She actually wants to go straight and raise their child right. And basically, we get this very weird, gross, uncomfortable story where they're trying to amount to a family, and Glenn slash Glenda sort of goes through an identity crisis and has this weird sexual confused identity, and it is terrible. I hate Glenn Glenda so much. This is the worst character in the franchise. Chucky's kid is awful, and basically Don Mancini used Glenn and Glenda as a surrogate for himself. It's his self-insert character about how he had an abusive dad and he had confusion about his sexual identity, and it is very gross and uncomfortable. Like, I'm sorry. Like, I don't get it. Like, even LGBT people really hate this movie because Glenn and Glenda is an offensive representation of them. Like, it is bad. I do not like Glenn and Glenda, and it gets even weirder because as the story goes on, like, Tiffany, like, wanted a girl, Chucky wants a son, and basically there's a lot of commentary on gender norms through Glenn and Glenda, and it is cringe and terrible and not very well thought out. Glenn was just so inconsistent. If you didn't kill anybody and make sure to prevent both his mom and mother from killing others, it would have been better. Yeah, that would have been. Just thinking about this movie makes me uncomfortable with how terrible it is. Yeah, it is bad, and what's worse, the slasher plot is even stupider. Basically, Chucky and Tiffany go killing people in Hollywood, where we get a lot of cringy self-insert cameos of celebrities. Jennifer Tilly, the real Jennifer Tilly, is in this movie as a parody of herself, where she's this total whore making fun of her career, and basically, Tiffany wants to transfer her soul into Jennifer Tilly, and Chucky wants to become Red Man for some reason. Yeah, Redman, the rapper, is in this movie, and Chucky wants to become the rapper. like, I don't know. We get a lot of celebrity appearances. John Waters is in this movie, so you know he's the king of trash, and appropriately, this was worse than trash. And yeah, and what was his name? I'm trying to remember. There's like also like this butler who has a crush on Jennifer Tilly and trying to make his move, but you know Jennifer Tilly doesn't notice him because it's one of those stories. And Britney Spears cameos and Chucky kills her. This is like the funniest line in the movie. Chucky's like driving a car somehow, and he kills Britney Spears and says, "Oops, I did it again." Get it? It's one of her stupid songs. And yeah, I'm convinced Don Mancini lost his mind. Basically, Glenn and Glenda go through this identity crisis up until the end of the movie where they decide they want to be good and stands up to Chucky because Don Mancini wanted to stand up to his abusive father, and it is cringe. Like become a Matrix parody somehow. Like this one really gets off the wall stupid. Like they like fight each other Matrix style, and we get a weird twist where Glenn slash Glenda apparently has like a split persona, or she's like got another gender in her, and I don't know what it is. It's like a split personality that cross dresses, and she's actually the killer of the family. Glenda actually wants to be a serial killer and likes it, and Glenn is the good one who doesn't want to kill. And I don't get it because you're in the same body, and they don't really do a good job trying to explain it. The fight scene at the end did not age well in terms of animation. I agree, very shitty green screen. The Matrix fight with Glenn and Chucky is so bad, and Glenn finally kills Chucky, and Chucky goes out like a wuss in this movie. He gets like his limbs chopped off and he falls down crying, while Glenn is also crying, saying, "Are you proud of me, Daddy? I finally did it and killed." And Chucky's like getting axed like piece by piece, limb by limb, and Chucky is such a wuss in this. Like he dies. Glenn finally wins her happy ending. Two-Face, you're not Glenn and Glenda. Even when I was a kid, I laughed my head off at how bad the scene was, and I was only 8 years old. Yeah, that Matrix fight, garbage. And then we get our twist ending. Apparently, Tiffany somehow succeeded, even though she was dying, into transferring her soul into Jennifer Tilly, because tee-hee ha-ha, they're the same actress. Tiffany is now Jennifer Tilly, and she gives birth to 2 children, which are Glenn and Glenda, who got human bodies, and I don't even know how that works. It's like, did you transfer your soul into the baby twins, and they came out with their separate personas? I don't know, and I don't care. Glenn and Glenda are finally born, and we find out Glenda likes being a killer and is killing with her mom. They're like still slaying people at the end of the movie. And then Glenn gets his birthday present, which is, surprise, Chucky, who strangles him, and we end the movie there with an ambiguous note that Glenn could be dead or could be alive, which I don't care because I hate Glenn and Glenda. Yeah, this is bad, people. This was the worst movie in the franchise, and I disagree with all the defenders who say, well, it's actually aged better. No, it has aged worse. It was bad then, it's bad now, and unfortunately, this is where the franchise completely lost its footing. Don Mancini completely lost his mind after this movie, and he's been chasing the crazy dark comedy train for all these years up to the series, and it has not gotten better. So yeah, Seed of Chucky, it is still an F. After all these years, it is the worst Chucky movie, and it makes rock bottom. However, Chucky fans, there's still hope, as we eventually got a revival movie, Curse of Chucky. I'll talk about this movie, but I gotta take a brief break. A brief break, sorry. But get excited, Curse is next. I got a date with a 6-year-old boy. Alright, we're back with Curse of Chucky. Alright, so after it seemed like the franchise was doomed, Chucky eventually got revived through the direct-to-video kind of game. Don Mancini wanted to save Chucky's image after how embarrassing he fell. And Curse of Chucky at last returns to its horror roots. We're back to being scary Chucky movie. Chucky basically gets adopted by this family, and he's posing as a new good guy doll. And believe it or not, people actually like this movie because it's finally scary again. Chucky is back to being a horror villain in this movie. Like, it is dead serious. Chucky is not played for laughs until much later. Chucky is actually in disguise. He covered his scar face and now looks like a regular good guy doll again. Chucky's once again played subtly for horror. He's back to hiding and pretending to be a doll while secretly going around killing people at this mansion. Chucky is basically getting revenge on people who he targeted in his human life. Chucky finds these other victims basically during his real serial killer phase, and he poses as the doll to infiltrate the family and kill them one by one from within. Willis, Brad Dourif's daughter, Nika, who is living with this family, tries to crack the mystery and slowly but surely realizes who Chucky is and at last faces him. So, Curse of Chucky, okay, I do not love this movie. However, I will admit it is a lot better than what came after and what came before. Curse of Chucky is a B movie to me. Yeah, I know, a lot of people wanted it in S rank or at least A, but it is a B movie. I think this one's okay. This is my biggest gripe with the movie. It is slow. It is a bit boring and poorly paced at times. I do respect it. I do love that this saved the Chucky franchise, and I will say there are good scenes. I love Chucky being scary again, and Brad Dourif's one-liners are pretty good in this movie. You have your mother's eyes, and they were always too fucking close together, and he shanks her in the eye. One of my problems with this movie is that a lot of the victims were back to unlikable characters. There are some pretty terrible people in this. Like, the mom is secretly a closeted lesbian and having an affair with their nanny behind the very nice dad's back. And there's some douches here who get what's coming to them. There's some blank slates who you don't really care for. And Chucky's kills are a lot more slow-paced in this movie. We're like building up tension for Chucky to kill them. A lot of people like the poison scene where Chucky poisons like this family dinner, like on they're having like a Thanksgiving feast with all their friends and family, and Chucky poisoned like the meal, and we're wondering, oh, are they gonna eat it? Are they gonna eat it? But no, apparently none of them do, and the poison never kills them. Curse of Chucky went back to its horror roots, and I'm glad it did. Lots of its scares are great, Brad Dourif is good as usual, and I did like more of the origin lore with Charles Lee Ray. I personally would put it higher tier, but I respect the placement. Thanks, Shadowlink. Yeah, I know a lot of people really love this one. This one, I do consider okay. It does have some of the stuff I hate about the Child's Play saga, and again, my gripe is that it's very slow. It is boring. This is not at all a long movie, but it does kind of feel that way. They take their time with Chucky attacking people and scaring people, but I will say I do love that it's back to being a horror story. Chucky's like picking off the family one by one, and once again, nobody believes the little girl that the doll's alive. And unfortunately, in the later half of the movie, they do bring back its dark comedy roots again, which I am very mixed on, but unfortunately, it isn't as bad as we'll get to in the later entries. But yeah, Curse of Chucky is definitely alright. We're back to scary Chucky. Basically, Brad Dourif's daughter, I think Nika, who plays Nika in this, the wheelchair girl, she's pretty much the star of the show. She's the actual hero. She's kind of a twist final girl. We're led to believe that the other little girl who's hanging with Chucky might be the new Andy, who's eventually gonna fight Chucky and save the day. But no, it's actually Nika who's our final girl, because her connections to Brad Dourif gave her nepotism. Basically, Chucky actually succeeds in killing all the characters in this except for the main two. Like, I thought the nice guy dad would live, but nope, he gets killed, and Nika and the little girl are now orphans. The entire family and friends are picked off except for the two of them. Chucky kind of tortures Nika, and we get our big twist that Nika was a girl that Charles Lee Ray stalked and had like this creepy pedo romance with. He wanted to kill her family and take her. And we get some lore behind Charles Lee Ray before he became a doll, basically. And that's why people really like this movie. We do find out more about who Chucky was before he became the killer doll we all love. Chucky actually has a very intricate backstory where he slowly became a serial killer, almost scarier than the Springwood slasher was. Though, I kind of laugh at how Brad Dourif looks like Tommy Wiseau when he was alive. Like, you'd look at me in the eye and tell me Charles Lee Ray does not look like Tommy Wiseau. Yeah, Chucky was a serial killer who killed many families and stalked people, and he may have been a child molester because he has, like, his eye out for Nika and wants to kill her, but Nika's no pushover. She actually stands up for herself and actually mouths off to Chucky and pokes fun of him that he didn't have the balls to kill Andy, and basically gets under Chucky's skin. They have an epic fight scene, but eventually Chucky's defeated, and the police come in, they arrest Nika, and we pretty much get to the points where I started hating this movie, the ending. Yeah, so we get to the point where I started not liking this movie, the ending. Basically, Chucky gets a kind of a bittersweet victory. He ends up winning, but Nika's still alive and the little girl's still alive. For some reason, they think Nika was the killer who murdered the entire family she lived with. Somehow, despite, being in a friggin' wheelchair, she somehow murdered the entire family and is actually a crazy bitch, where they wheel her off to the nut house, while Chucky is, like, taken to police custody. However, out of nowhere, Tiffany shows up and kills his police escort to take his doll body back. I did not kill her. I did not. Oh, hi, Andy. Yeah, he looked like Tommy Wiseau, man. He did. Look at that hair in the movie again. Yeah, apparently Tiffany shows up, and don't get me wrong, I love Jennifer Tilly, but I was kind of hoping we'd forget the comedy movies and kind of start over with a clean slate, but no. Don Mancini is having all the Chucky movies connected, including Bride and Seed, which, yeah, this also costed the movie points. Seed of Chucky is canon because Jennifer Tilly is still in Jennifer Tilly's body. She kills the guard and mails Chucky to Andy, where we see a grown-up adult Andy who was expecting him, and he shotguns Chucky. Oh, and we get a post-credit scene where Chucky somehow came after the little girl and killed Grandma. I don't know how that's possible, but it's a tease for the sequel, where we start getting the Chucky clones. Anyway, that was Curse of Chucky, and I think it's alright. Yeah, I think it's alright. I definitely liked the scary Chucky, and I really love that it returned to the grassroots of the franchise. Charles Lee Ray is back to being a fun horror icon. However, it still had some of the terrible residue of the Seed of Chucky movie. Yeah, Don Mancini keeping these movies still connected as one canon definitely gave me mixed feelings, which is why I don't consider it an S rank, but I do consider it a B movie, a dumb, fun B movie, and I can see why Chucky fans love it because it definitely saved the franchise after Seed did so much destruction. Yeah, Curse of Chucky is a B movie. I know a lot of people love it, but to me, it's just okay. Again, I'm not a hardcore fan of the Chucky Saga. As you can see, my top two are Bride and Child's Play, but this one was a nice return to form, I will admit. It definitely did a lot more good than bad, but it's still not my favorite. Which leads us to The Cult of Chucky, which is one of the sequels you either love or outright despise. Oh boy, a lot to say on Cult of Chucky. Okay, so I have a lot more negativity towards Cult of Chucky. This was Don Mancini getting weird again, and some people liked it, but me, I saw it as a depressing return to the seed of Chucky style. Basically, we follow both Nika and Andy as the main characters this time. Nika is in the Nut House, but it turns out the Nut House is this corrupt Arkham Asylum setting, and she's with all these colorful mental patients and these terrible doctors. Like, her therapist is like this really creepy rapist kind of guy who is like taking advantage of the female patients, particularly Nika, because Fiona Dourif is hot as hell. Yeah, basically, this one takes place in a mental asylum for most of it. We're following Nika as Chucky is still alive. He finally escapes and gets his revenge. However, we meet the twist villains, the clone Chuckies. Apparently, Chucky pulled a Lord Voldemort and split his soul into more fragments and put them into other killer dolls. Yeah, there's apparently the Chucky that was sent to Andy was the original one, the one that got shot. However, he reveals that he sent other Chuckies. There are like 3 more of him who go all the way to infiltrate the asylum to get revenge on Nika, and I guess transfer into human hosts, which is this is where the plot gets really confusing, because now there's multiple Chuckies. Sigh, Cult of Chucky is just bizarre. I never stood the love for it. Still better than Seed and 3, but man, do I have mixed thoughts with Cult and the directions it went in. Yeah, Don Mancini gets weird in this movie. This is more supernatural Chucky, basically, and I am not a fan of it. Like, a lot of people love it because, well, it's following the fan favorite Curse of Chucky, and everybody loves Nika, and we all love Chucky, and Andy's finally back in the saddle, played by the same guy who played him as a kid, which is pretty cool. You can tell this was by a guy who definitely loved this saga, and it was supposed to be like a love letter to the fans, and be the middle chapter gearing us up for a bigger Chucky finale, but unfortunately that got turned into the series. Hi there, didn't know you were having one today, but hey, I'm here now. Yeah, this one was kind of a surprise. Yeah, I was waiting for my partner to get back on me on that Goosebumps crossover, and I've been passing the time with streams. Wanted to do one last one before we're all on break for Christmas. If you're new here, my S ranks are Child's Play 1 and Bride of Chucky. They are awesome. None for A yet. B is Curse of Chucky, which I thought was definitely decent, but not my favorite, and I do think it has a lot more weaknesses fans don't address, but it was definitely one of the better movies. C is Child's Play 2, not one of my favorites. I think it's overrated, and I think it's just a mediocre movie. E is Child's Play 3. This one was bad, just plain bad. And bottom F is Seed of Chucky, which was absolute trash, and all of us agree that it is the worst entry in this saga. We're now on Cult of Chucky, which, oh man, I think I'm gonna put on E. Okay, I will say it's better than Child's Play 3, yeah. Cult of Chucky I will put on E. This one was kind of a mess. It is very weird, outlandish, bizarre, and tonally all over the place. It doesn't know if it wants to be a dead serious Chucky movie or back to the dark comedy, and we get a lot of mood whiplash. There are some very gross, uncomfortable, dark scenes, but then we go to Chucky being funny and we getting comedy zingers and goofball antics, and we introduce the clone Chuckies, who are all played for laughs. One of the Chuckies gets like a haircut, and I think they were trying to go for kind of the Starscream clones angle, but it doesn't work when they all have the same persona. Have you realized that it started out as the Child's Play series, but then it changed its name to the Chucky series? Yeah, I definitely realized that. It was Child's Play in the original trilogy, but because Chucky was the face of the franchise, they pretty much shoved his name out there more because everybody knows Chucky more than the name of his regular films. I can definitely understand it, but we're counting it as the same franchise because it's all the same killer. Child's Play 3 also got some things wrong on the year. Yeah, it definitely did. I will say Cult is miles better than Seed, and a little better than Child's Play 3, but it is still a very lame and confusing movie, mostly because it is all over the place. It is a very sloppy storytelling, a mess of a plot, way too many unlikable characters. For some reason, they keep the dickhead doctor living too long, and Chucky even makes fun of how he wants to kill him so badly, but for some reason doesn't, which I just don't get. Nika honestly doesn't do as much in this movie as she did in Curse. Like, Nika's kind of a damsel in distress for most of the movie. She does get some badass moments, and she's once again trying to stop Chucky, but a lot more ineffective than she was in Curse. And we get Andy back, who honestly could have been written out of this movie entirely. Andy is completely useless. Like, he basically has the OG Chucky trapped and is, like, torturing him for information. We get, like, a satisfying revenge. However, Chucky starts villain monologuing that he's not over yet, and he realizes that he's gone to the asylum, where Andy tries to save the day, but ultimately fails. And a lot of people point out in this movie that Chucky actually wins. That's what makes it good, is that Chucky is at his A game in villain scheming in this movie, and he completely wins by the end. Also, a few years ago, found out that Jennifer Tilly voiced Celia from Monsters, Inc. Now I can't unhear her voice. Yeah, Jennifer Tilly's got a sexy voice. Yeah, the Doctor's the worst. He does get his satisfying death comeuppance, so I'll give the movie that. Yeah, the Doctor eventually dies, but I do not like that he lives so long, and basically Chucky points out that he's not killing him instantly. It's like, why would you do that? It's just making the movie worse. It's like, you should be hyping up his death, like Tales from the Crypt style, but no, they have a lot more self-aware humor. Oh, and Jennifer Tilly's back as Tiffany / Tiffany possessing Jennifer Tilly's body. I don't know, and honestly, this is a movie where I realized they probably should have let Tiffany go. Like, her character arc ended long ago. She dumped Chucky, and she got her independence back and her grim, happy ending. But no, we keep bringing her back, and she's simping for Chucky again, even though Seed of Chucky had them break up for good. But no, because we love Jennifer Tilly, we gotta keep shoving her back in this franchise. Also, over on Dead Meat's channel, Curse of Chucky is the first time that Chucky's not included on the count. He also got the Golden Chainsaw twice in that series. Yeah, Chucky kills are awesome. Cult of Chucky, I don't think I remember any kills. I think they copy the shards falling on someone on bed from Bride of Chucky, but yeah, that was cool, but I liked it better on Bride. Like, here, they're just copying it and paying a lot of homages to Chucky's killing style from this franchise as a whole. Sorry, I needed some water. Yeah, I don't know why. This is supposed to be a love letter to the series, but not quite pushing it forward, and I realized the reason why I hated it, because Don Mancini is basically using this to plug story arcs for his series. Yeah, Cult of Chucky is basically kind of a bad MCU movie where they're really plugging a lot of spin-off material, bringing characters back and setting up plot threads which he was going to address in his TV show, basically. Because why would you want a satisfying story now that would build up that story and instead just plug in your TV show coming to sci-fi or whatever? Also, Bride of Chucky came out around the same time Slappy got his bride. Yeah, that is funny. As you'll see, Chucky and Slappy are definitely going to complement each other, but I'll address that on Goosebumps Gallery. But yeah, Bride of Chucky happened, and that inspired Bride of Slappy. or Bride of the Living Dummy, where he gets Mary Ellen, but the dark twist where Slappy's a pedo. Can't wait to touch upon that one. We'll get to that soon, but yeah. Anyways, Cult of Chucky, a bit of a mess. Like, random events happen. Andy gets locked in the asylum. Chucky is, like, manipulating and or killing the mental patients. Nika is trying to solve the mystery, but the heroes are a lot more ineffective in this movie. And I would honestly argue Andy could have been written out entirely because at the end he fails and does nothing. Yeah, Andy is kind of useless in this movie, and he doesn't really accomplish much. Made me kind of ask, what was the point of getting him? Oh, because fans love him, which, yeah, I am a fan of Andy, but if he's not really going to have any effect on the story, why even bother? It tries to go for this kind of Greek tragedy where, oh, Chucky actually wins in the end because of Andy's paranoia, which could have worked, but I didn't quite feel that. Like, at the end, Chucky's on his killing spree, the clone Chuckies are attacking, the clone Chuckies are kind of played for laughs, which is why I don't have any fear in this movie, because Chucky's back to being a comical villain again, and yeah, I do like his one-liners, but Brad Dourif is just hamming it up and milking for the camera. The Chucky clones were a wasted idea, and unfortunately get wasted again in the series. Slappy also got the treatment of his story, changing its name to have his name in the title. Yeah, because Slappy's the star, and the killer dolls are always the stars. So, as I said, Cult of Chucky, it actually ends with Chucky, I assume the prime one, winning, because he successfully takes over Nika. Chucky wins, Nika's possessed, Andy actually loses, and somehow possessing Nika allows her to walk again. I do not know how that works because she was paralyzed from when Chucky stabbed her, and I guess a new soul possessing her fixes all her past injuries. So now Chucky's alive in Nika and has a lesbian relationship with Tiffany because we needed this movie to have virtue signaling points. Yeah, apparently the Chucky Saga is LGBT friendly, which I don't have a problem with, but it gets very weird in the series when that essentially takes over later. Better ending than The Walking Dead, though. Yeah, that's for sure, but unfortunately it follows The Walking Dead's finale of setting up a lot more shows and spin-offs. And yeah, Cult of Chucky ends with Nika and Tiffany walking off together happily ever after, and we get sequel bait because Don Mancini wanted to really sell that TV show idea. Cult of Chucky, I consider bad. I don't like it. It is better than the other god-awful sequels, but it is still a very messy, weak movie, and tonally all over the place. I do not like it, and I am not in a rush to see this one ever again. It goes on E for sure. Alright, so before we get to the show, there was one last theatrical Child's Play movie, and that is the remake. Child's Play 2019. Oh boy, I know you're all excited to hear this one. Mark Hamill is Chucky now. And unfortunately, he's in a bad movie. Okay, so after Cult of Chucky kind of killed the film saga all over again, they decided to remake Chucky with a whole new clean slate, a reboot Child's Play, where Mark Hamill is the killer doll this time. Yeah, Wolf said he forgot that one existed. Yeah, you and me both, brother. This is the remake, and as you can tell, it follows the trend of bad horror remakes because they totally failed to understand the original's greatness. Yeah, this is the one where we're in modern day and Chucky's now an advanced computer doll, really a rogue AI. Like, Chucky malfunctions and he has this corrupt AI who becomes a yandere for Andy in this one, and will kill people to protect him and tries to be Andy's best friend forever. Yeah, next is the one with Luke Skywalker. Mark Hamill ends up in the same boat as Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger. They actually did get a good actor to portray him. Unfortunately, he was in a terrible story, which did not do the character justice. Basically, Chucky is a defective toy. It has an AI, and they do this social commentary on how the media and technology are bad and such. He gets taken in by Andy's family as a present because he's like the latest doll that's trending. Everyone loves him. And we find out that he's kind of this malfunctioning AI, and he slowly becomes a yandere for Andy in this one. I actually do like this idea that Chucky loves Andy and will do anything to be his best friend and guardian, and kills people in Andy's name, basically. I didn't even know it existed. This is the remake, and if everyone who saw it hated it, and it was pretty much forgotten within like a year. This is basically a prototype version of Megan, an evil killer doll that's really a robot AI that will do anything to love and protect its creator, even kill innocent people. Well, some innocent, some assholes who deserve it. And basically, we're back to Child's Play 1, and it follows a lot of the bad horror trends. Lazy jump scares, terrible characters who you want the killer to murder, and some very cringy mood whiplash. It tries to make Chucky funny again. This is for Tupac. Oh, God, that line is so bad. I think the characters are very terrible in this one. They are very bastardized versions of the original cast. The mom, played by Audrey Plaza, she is a really unlikable bitch in this one. I think they ruined the mother, and I think she's terrible. She's having like an affair with like a married man, and this guy basically abuses her son and treats him like dirt, and she apparently doesn't do anything about it, which made me hate her. Andy is kind of a brat in this version. He doesn't like the doll, and he's getting into mischief. In this version, he has friends who are complete rip-offs of the Stranger Things kids. Like, it's trying to follow a lot of trends. It's following the MCU style of humor. It's following the lazy jump scare horror trash. It's following Stranger Things with the kids actually trying to crack the mystery of what's going on. And it's following these lame reboot cool ideas where we throw a bunch of member berries at you and remind you of how good Child's Play 1 is, but the problem is that only makes you want to see the original and not this garbage remaster. I think I speak for everyone when I say this one is F. I will put it above Seed, because Seed is an abomination. But this was bad. This was a very bad movie. Spoiler, we're basically recreating the first movie. The doll's alive and killing people, and Andy's trying to prove it's dangerous. We slowly find out that this killer doll is a killer doll. Chucky is doing some funny one-liners. The difference is Chucky actually likes Andy and wants to be his friend. Willis doing a lot of things that are endangering Andy and sabotaging his life. There's some very cringy dark comedy moments in this, and a lot of asshole characters who die. I will say one of the few highlights it gets above Seed is definitely the kills. Yeah, I didn't bother with the remake. I didn't either. I wanted to, but then I realized I wanted to do this streaming. I did not see this in theaters. I saw it much later because I was not interested, and then I finally watched it and realized that, it was not interesting. Mark Hamill doesn't do too bad as Chucky. We know Mark Hamill is a good voice actor, and he was definitely a good idea to replace Brad Dourif, but let's be real, he was no Brad Dourif. It's the same as Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy Krueger. They got someone who actually could have been great as this role. However, they had very big shoes to fill, and the movie did not use them very well. Colton Child's Play 3, graded E for excellent. Not. Yeah, they are lame. They are lame, but they are definitely above the remake, and surprise, it was a lazy cash grab. It was trying to profit off of the Child's Play fan base. It was another horror remake that was trash. And basically, we tried to give Chucky modern updates, which kind of made it more forgettable. Yeah, there are some cool kills in this, though. I will defend that. Chucky kills the abusive dickhead boyfriend by like strangling him with Christmas lights and dragging him down to a lawnmower, which slices him to death, and the douche boyfriend's like toupee goes on a lawn gnome, and Chucky says, "This is for Tupac," and yeah, he says a lot of stupid things in this. He's basically repeating what Andy or his friends are trying to teach him. You know the reason there's no grade E? Because parents in the 30s thought E stood for that when it was actually a failing grade, and it was replaced by F. Yeah, I wanted to give the Child's Play more leeway, and they gave us more letters. We got S, A, B, C, D, E, and F. Yeah, E is pretty bad, but F is total failure, which this remake definitely was. So eventually, Andy slowly turns on Chucky, and Chucky slowly turns on him. Another cool kill I like is this weird custodian guy who apparently has tech skills steals the killer doll, and we find out he planted weird cameras to watch people in their apartments and I guess jack off to it, because this is an episode of South Park apparently. And Chucky uses the technology and hacks into it, where he gains kind of this hacking power. Chucky is like Ultron now in a rogue AI, where he hacks into the guy's tech and kills him, and it's pretty funny because the guy is on the ceiling holding a pipe. Chucky uses his remote to raise the room temperature while a buzzsaw is under him. But all I can think is, hey guy, why don't you just swing yourself away from the saw, because it's very small. But no, he falls on it and gets sliced in half. And Chucky uses this tech bro skills and technology to his advantage and masters the ability to hack. Yeah, Chucky becomes a walking Skynet apparently in this, and AI Chucky stalks Andy all the way to the grand reopening of the mall, which is selling new advanced AI toys like Chucky, and he hacks control of all the toys and starts a riot in the store. He causes a lockdown. We see all the toys flying around, cutting people. Some guy gets sliced in the face by a drone. There's this dark comedy kill where Chucky has one of the dolls sneak into a guy's suit. He's a mascot wearing a big yellow costume, and there's a doll stabbing him in the head while he's running around, and people think he's doing a little dance. Have you seen Silent Night, Deadly Night? No, I have not, which is why we didn't end up doing a tier list on that. We chose the other Christmas story, Child's Play. Basically, Chucky meets Terminator. Yeah, kind of. I would say more prototype Megan, but yeah, Chucky becomes a Skynet, and he causes the machine uprising. No, seriously, that happens in this garbage reboot because we don't have any original ideas. And he takes Andy's mom, Audrey Plaza, hostage and holds her on a suspended cable to her death. And Andy finally confronts him, and Andy uses his love for Chucky to manipulate him because I guess he learned something. And yeah, he uses it and he tricks Chucky into being killed, and the mom gets the final shot, even though Audrey Plaza really didn't do much in this movie except act like a bitch, so I felt nothing. And they killed Chucky, and I guess that disables the AI program, and all's well ends well. Andy and his mom are happy, and they reunite, apologize for being dicks, and have a Merry Christmas. However, in our twist ending, we see the Chucky AI downloaded into another Chucky doll, because they really thought this crap was gonna get a sequel. Well, geez, since when did Chucky become Soundwave? Yeah, Chucky became a AI who was corrupting and hacking in this. I will say, I liked Mark Hamill as Chucky, but he deserved a much better movie. Again, like Jackie Earle Haley as Freddy, they did get a guy who could have been a very phenomenal replacement. However, he was wasted in a garbage cash grab movie that did not understand what made the Child's Play franchise so loved. It is F tier, an unnecessary remake that ultimately did nothing for Chucky, and I do consider it on the bad horror remakes list. Maybe one day I'll add it to my top 10 worst horror remakes, but for now, as a tier list, it is pretty bad. It is F bad. It gets 1 point from Mark Hamill, so it's not lesser than Seed for me, but it is still an F movie. And that was the end of the film saga until luck shined upon Don Mancini and he at last got his TV series. Sorry, I'm gonna need some water because we're on the TV show now, which at the time of this tier list is the last Chucky story we ever got. Now, I am very conflicted on this. The Chucky series is not good. It is not good. I hated it. I could barely get past episode 1. Yeah, sorry, I paused for all the hate reactions I'm gonna get. Chucky the series is going on to F. Yeah, it is bad. I did not like this show at all, and I am convinced Don Mancini has gone insane and completely lost touch with his fan base. Basically, this is taking place right after Cult of Chucky. Chucky gets packaged and dealt to a new kid, this weird queer kid who doesn't fit in and basically is tricked into thinking Chucky's his friend. The new kid basically takes Chucky, and we go through Andy's story where he slowly realizes the doll is alive, but we actually learn faster that Chucky is trying to manipulate this kid. They're taking a plot point right out of the remake movie. Never watched the series either. I saw the pilot for free on YouTube and it was bad. The show is bad, man. It is bad. I hate to be that guy, but it does overdose on the woke, the message. It is very gender studies loving. And basically, here's the biggest thing that sealed the deal for this show being bad. Glenn and Glenda come back. The worst character of the franchise returns on this series as a reoccurring characters. And that pretty much sealed the deal where I will never watch this show ever again. Glenn and Glenda suck, and why were they brought back on this show? It doesn't help that the main protagonist is also kind of Glenn. Basically, it's another OC stand-in for Don Mancini because he has an abusive dad who doesn't want his son to be a queer, and he's trying to stand up for himself. He gets this forbidden romance with the gay kid in class. He's like bullied, and all I can say is, wait, you're in high school and you still collect dolls? Like, why would you bring your dolls to high school in the first place? Oh no, yeah, that's right. Glenn and Glenda return in this series, and they are not cameos, they are major characters in this. Glenn and Glenda sort of become helpers to this queer protagonist and help them find their gender identity while it's also stopping Chucky, and there is way too much focus on the identity politics in this show. I'm sorry. There's like half this queer romance and half a Chucky story. Brad Dourif is back, and I think the effects for the killer doll are terrible. Chucky looks like a Muppet in this show. It looks so fake. Made me really appreciate Curse of Chucky a lot more. Who would win, Glenn and Glenda or Glenn the Walking Dead? Oh, Glenn from The Walking Dead, because he's not a wuss who pees his pants all the time. Yeah, here's what guaranteed the show an F slot. Glenn and Glenda are back. They are friends with this kid. I'm kind of surprised they didn't become his love interest. Basically, it gets a lot of points because Don Mancini has a lot of horror cameos on this show and a lot of returning characters from the franchise as a whole. They bring back Andy, they bring back Nika from Cult of Chucky. She finally gets her happiness, and she's now sort of the Dr. Loomis of the Child's Play saga. Like, she's hunting down Chucky and trying to kill him herself. They bring back Tiffany, played by Jennifer Tilly again. They bring back, unfortunately, John Waters. Oh yeah, the one character from Seed of Chucky who everyone loved. I'm sure you're all happy John Waters came back. Also, why couldn't they just call him Seed of Chucky? Because seed is what comes from your weenus, and they wanted the dirty pun because they thought that would be funny. They bring back Kyle from Child's Play 2, which I was admittedly surprised to see. They brought back Kyle. She's apparently Andy's new partner in crime. And unfortunately, I never cared about Kyle in Child's Play 2, but everyone went crazy when she came back for this series. I think there were plans to bring back, Andy's mom, and they were going to finally reconcile. However, they also got horror stars. Devon Sawa is in this. You know him as the Final Destination guy and the Idle Hand Stoner. Devon Sawa cameos as, multiple characters, kind of in, these Stan Lee characters. Devon Sawa is the queer kid's abusive dad, then he's the president of the United States, then he's a lawyer or something. I don't remember. He plays so many characters because Devon Sawa is apparently best friends with Don Mancini. Oh man, John Waters, wasn't happy to see him again, and John Waters is now also a voodoo teacher who's going to give you plot exposition on Chucky's voodoo powers. Yeah, they indulge in the supernatural crap so much in this series that I kind of got confused. It is back to Seed and Cult of Chucky's status. It is another dark comedy, and Don Mancini gets very weird in this show. It is very bizarre, a lot more supernatural Chucky. Sometimes he kills people. There's these post-credit flashbacks, which are kind of like these Clone Wars arcs of Chucky, basically his origin. We see Charles Lee Ray's entire lifetime, how he became a serial killer, how he eventually made his way into the Child's Play saga from the very start. We see him befriend Eddie Caputo. We see how he first fell in love with Tiffany. We see his childhood. We see how he grew to love killing people. Honestly, the flashbacks should have been the main show. I would much rather see a Chucky prequel, but no, we have to carry on the story that Cult of Chucky graciously left us behind, and it is terrible. In your opinion, when should this series have ended? Personally, I think it should have ended on Bride of Chucky. To me, Bride of Chucky is the last good movie we ever got, but some defend Curse, and I wouldn't complain if Curse was the final movie because what we got later was so much worse. So much worse. Yeah, Bride or Curse of Chucky should have been the final story. A prequel would have been better. Yeah, unfortunately that's not what we got. Oh hey, network, glad you made it. Also, if you realize that Charles Lee Ray looks like Tommy Wiseau, yes, I did bring that up. I pointed that out. Shadowlink quoted, "You're tearing me apart, Andy." Oh, hi, Andy. Yeah, he looks like Tommy Wiseau as a human. I know Brad Dourif had long hair, but man, does he look weird in these flashbacks. Yeah, apparently there are these mini flashback arcs at the end of every episode, whereas the real stories were focusing on this queer kid and his LGBT rom-com, whilst a Chucky plot is happening on the side. And the show gets very weird. It's first, Chucky tries to manipulate the protagonist into being his partner in crime, but it's slowly about the queer kid getting his backbone and standing up for himself. Then we get the Chucky clone army. Yeah, Chucky's clones look awful. They're like Muppets in this. Chucky gets an army of killer dolls, and he's going to spread them worldwide, and it's the big season cliffhanger. Surprise, they ruined this plot by killing them all in the opening of season 2. By the way, I heard that his name came from 3 people that the creator was scared of. Charles from the Manson family, Lee came from Lee Harvey Oswald, and James Earl Ray. Okay, I guess that makes sense. All serial killer names, and real life does influence art. Yeah, spoilers, the coolest concept people praise is the Chucky clones came back, and this time he has an armada of them, but spoilers, season 2 opens up with them killing them all. How? Oh, they drive the delivery truck carrying them off a cliff and they fall into a ravine and die. Yep, that is the end of the Chucky clones. And yeah, it is bad. Nika actually spends the most of season 1 and 2 still possessed by Chucky, somehow, despite him being back in a killer doll at the same time. Yeah, there are 2 Chuckies, the one possessing Nika still, and the one that's still a killer doll. I believe it's the same doll Andy had locked up, rebuilt somehow. Andy's influencing this queer kid and soon becomes his archenemy. The queer kid forms his own Stranger Things group with the popular girl and his awesome boyfriend. They're like going on Stranger Things mysteries and stopping Chucky plots. Well, that was anticlimactic, I agree. That is the end of the Chucky clones. They drove them all off a cliff and they died. Yeah, most satisfying ending since Poochie got killed on his way to his home planet. The second season, Chucky tries to sneak his way into the White House and kill the president. Yeah, that really happened. That was a plot. Chucky becomes a villain and a threat to national security, apparently. And we get really off the rails, people. Second season to season 3 are so insane and so ludicrous. We get a lot more magic. Chucky and Tiffany are back together killing people, and then Tiffany goes back and forth on deciding whether she wants to stay with Chucky or no, she wants to break up and be normal again. It's like, bitch, you've done the same arc since Seed of Chucky. It's getting old. I'm sick of seeing Tiffany now. And a lot of bad cameos. We get random deaths. Chucky's back to being a goofball comedic villain. He is pretty much just the Joker at this point. He's like a funny villain now. He's played for laughs, but he's still a threat, except the difference is the Joker's schemes were brilliant. We get these Stranger Things kids cracking cases. Eventually, Chucky loses his control of Nika. They finally banish his soul from her, and Nika becomes good. She becomes a Dr. Loomis sort of hunter trying to kill Chucky for good, realizing how dangerous he is. And she becomes sort of a mentor to the Stranger Things kids. Oh, and by the way, Nika can walk now. More anticlimactic than the fight with Vader and Obi-Wan in episode 4 of the Obi-Wan show? Yeah, definitely. Just like the Transformers G1 second season, that season was all over the place. Plus, it was long, 49 episodes. Yeah, but the difference was Transformers G1 was good. And it at least delivered some fun moments. The Chucky series, no. It got convoluted. A lot of weird stuff happens, weird plot threads. We bring back magic and voodoo, and Chucky has more satanic schemes in this. Chucky tries to kill the President of the United States, and these kids actually save him. There's this weird subplot where Chucky actually finally becomes one with the doll, and he's an old man now because they were making fun of how Brad Dourif was getting older, and there's an old man Chucky. It's so dumb, and I'm convinced Don Mancini went insane. It's Wolfen time. Oh, hey, Emily, you made it. We're at the end of the list. Yeah, if you're just tuning in, we'll go over it one more time. S rank is Child's Play 1 and Bride of Chucky. These are the best movies of the franchise. Love them. None in A. B movie, Curse of Chucky. This one was definitely decent, but still flawed in my eyes. C tier is Child's Play 2. It is overrated. I think it is lame, but it is miles better than all the low tier here. Then we get E ranking. These are just bad. Cult of Chucky was a bad mess. Child's Play 3 was an utter disappointment. And F for failure, the worst. We have Chucky the series, Child's Play the terrible remake, because it's a terrible remake, and we have Seed of Chucky, which is an abomination. Now I'm glad I didn't bother with the series because it sounds absolutely ridiculous. Yeah, Don Mancini pretty much revives Seed of Chucky through this series. Glenn and Glenda are back, and they hog so much spotlight and give all these jokes and lectures on being non-binary now. I don't know how you're non-binary when you have gendered names and you are confirmed to be a boy and a girl at the end of Seed, but I don't understand the LGBT community, so you can have that mess. Glenn and Glenda suck, and they are still bad. They're now funny comic relief helpers, and considering how awful Glenn and Glenda are in Seed, the show did not make me lose any hatred of them. Then came the final season where Chucky now finally has to become human again, and he's working with John Waters on this elaborate sorcerer scheme. Like, I still don't fully understand it. And basically, they're trying to trick the kids. Like, Chucky becomes arch enemies with the queer kid and his Stranger Things team of misfits and basically tries to get revenge on them. They're trying to stop him, and they're also fighting Nika and Andy, who come back. Andy barely does anything in this show. I don't remember one scene where I really liked him. It's almost like he was only here because everyone wanted to see his character arc fulfilled back in Cult. But that never happened. This sadly happens to every horror franchise. They start good and get worse. Yeah, the series is definitely worse. Don Mancini pretty much does ideas he wanted to do and just threw a ton of crap at the wall. It is all his random ideas that he wanted to do for the Chucky Saga, and I'm surprised we didn't throw in space while we were at it, because it got that weird. So, Season 3 unfortunately ends on a cliffhanger because the show got canceled, which doesn't surprise me because it was terrible. Chucky the series really wanted to be this great dark comedy show. It wanted to be kind of in the same vein as a love letter like Hannibal's series or the Bates Motel series, but the difference is it is not good. It is so crazy. It is baffling. It is a mess. It's all over the place, and it kind of stopped being funny and did a lot more preaching and woke lectures, which were terrible. And when it wasn't being woke, it was being cringe comedy. Basically, season 3 ends with John Waters successfully trapping the kids and transferring Chucky's soul into all 3 of them, while the kids become dolls. And the CGI for this scene is god-awful. Don Mancini clearly did not have a budget, and it surprises me because Hannibal, a show which came out years before this, has better visuals and effects than a 2020 TV show with a big budget. People die if they are killed. Were you glad that this show got canceled just like how Velma got canceled? Yes, I was. The Chucky series is awful. This is not a Hannibal, not a Bates Motel, not even Scream the series. This was bad. It is the worst horror show, and it made me wish this franchise would just go away. It's like, all you need to know is that Glenn and Glenda are back as major characters, and that automatically gets it an F. I hope the show does not revive. There's apparently a campaign trying to get it moved to Netflix. It's like, I understand there are fans who like it, and I won't say you're a bad person for liking this, but this is my opinion, and I think it's crap. I think it is bad. I do not get what people see in this series. I would strongly recommend you watch Scream the series over this. And yeah, I think that pretty much completes my tier list. Allegedly, there's another Chucky movie in the making, and Don Mancini really wants to have a finale, and he wants to tie up the show. I think the show is getting like a TV movie one day, and he's trying to campaign for that, but time will tell if that actually happens, or if the Chucky fan base is completely fractured for good. Yeah, I'd rather see Scream the series get revived instead. Yeah, the Lakewood Gang, that show is awesome. It deserved a final season more than Chucky's show does. Yeah, Chucky the series is pretty much the highlight of how far this franchise has fallen. It has become another bad horror franchise that outstayed its welcome, and proof that the creator has lost touch with its roots completely. Do not recommend it. I recommend Scream the series, Hannibal the series, or Bates Motel, because they were made by people who actually loved the horror saga. Sorry, I needed some water because that took a lot of rage out of me. So, as you can see, that completes the Chucky Saga. If you have any other comments or questions you want to ask while you're here, start asking now, because I'm going to start tying them up. So, as you can see, this completes my tier list of all the Chucky stories ever, at least so far at this time. F tier is easily Seed of Chucky, god-awful, Child's Play the remake, terrible horror remake, Chucky the series, which was a terrible horror show that failed its franchise in every way. E is Child's Play 3, which was a very messy movie and a complete disappointment as a sequel. Then Cult of Chucky, which was a baffling, confusing mess. Right, see ya. Can't wait for the next Goosebumps gallery that's coming. Yep, it's on the way. Got 2 Goosebumps galleries for you. One that's coming out today, later, and one that's gonna come out by Christmas time, I'm hoping. Yeah, good news, Wolfpack, you're getting 2 Goosebumps galleries coming up. As you know, one is The Terrible Worms, and one's a different episode I did with my crossover partner. But you'll be surprised by that one. Anyways, E, Cult of Chucky, complete mess, do not recommend. None in the D, surprisingly. C tier is Child's Play 2. This one was the alright movie. It almost could have been good, but I do think it is a very weak sequel. I don't get what the fan base sees in it. It had fun moments for sure, but I just think it's okay. It is a mid movie to me. B is Curse of Chucky. Definitely a great step in the right direction. Oh, nice. Yeah, 2 Goosebumps galleries. Yeah, it's Goosebumpin' time. Hoping to have it released later today. You mean it's gonna be one everybody hates but you? Yeah, possibly. Child's Play 2 is one I hate but everybody loves. Curse of Chucky, step in the right direction. I don't think it's one of the greatest horror movies I've ever seen, but it is definitely miles better than all that came after it. Curse of Chucky is definitely a decent step back to its roots. None in the A ranking, sadly. Curse almost made it, but I do have problems with it. But S tier is the best of the best. Bride of Chucky, which is one of the greatest horror comedies ever, and made Tiffany an awesome icon, and Child's Play 1. Don't fuck with the original. The original recipe is still my all-time favorite, and it is why I consider Chucky a horror icon. The original is classic, and Bride of Chucky is definitely one of the funniest movies in the saga. I was talking about the question bumps. Yeah, I thought that's what you were talking. Yeah, Child's Play 2 is one that everybody loves, but I hate. I do not get the fan love for this one. I will agree it is not as bad as all the garbage, but I just don't love it. I don't think it's all that good. I know fans will be pissed it didn't make A or S rank, but yeah, it's my opinion. It is a C tier, middling of the road. But yeah, I do agree, the first is legendary, and Bride of Chucky is pure fun. It is fun. I love these 2 the most. These are the 2 I consider the best of the Child's Play franchise, and the ones I will admit are epic horror masterpieces. And yeah, take a picture if you haven't seen it. This is my full not Goosebumps, my full Child's Play / Chucky ranking. Yeah, as you can see, the ones that everyone agrees are crap are crap. I know people like the show, but I'm not one of them, and I'll be the brave one and put it on F. Don't watch the show, people. Don't watch the remake, it is forgettable. And don't watch Seed of Chucky, because I would consider it one of the worst horror movies ever made. But I do recommend Child's Play 1 and Bride of Chucky. I am still not a huge fan of Child's Play, but I will admit it does have its fans, and there is a lot of dumb fun in this franchise. Chucky is a great horror villain still, regardless of my feelings on the sequels. I would only recommend these 2 movies, basically. The rest, you can either watch, but I'd warn you to tread at your own risk. So, I guess that completes our Child's Play ranking. See if anyone made any last comments, or the other way around. Alright, see you later. You're live or not. Thanks. Alright, there was an episode of Transformers G1 titled Child's Play before the series even existed. Yeah, but that has nothing to do with killer dolls, unless you count Decepticons, which are shrunk. Okay, so that completes my Child's Play ranking. I'm so glad you guys tuned in. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and I've got a date with a 6-year-old toy. Can't sue me for that one.